Excerpt from Stand Proud by Jim Hashimoto. Welcome to Bizarre Podcast, Dogs Must Die. My name is Grant, you can call him Chip, and that peal of laughter, it can only be described as a peal, comes from our very special guest. Please introduce yourself as you would like to be introduced.
Hi, I'm Val. That was Grant imitating the intro I make him do for my podcast. I wasn't expecting that, as you can tell, and I like to think of it as a cackle.
Welcome. As we said last week, and as you can tell, loyal listeners, the fact that we have someone new in the room with us is because we are not continuing on the next adventures of our Stardust Crusaders, but looking back and talking about the part so far. Again, because Stardust Crusaders is so much longer than the parts that preceded it, we thought we would keep the show to the rhythm we established in order to break things up. And there's a lot to talk about, even if we're only at the beginning, not yet the middle and end.
It's 12 episodes, but we've beaten up like 10 opponents. So, you know.
There's a lot of dudes and one lady. We beat up real good.
Mm-hmm.
It's at least a dude an episode. At some point, the show really picks up, and you're taking out like 2 and maybe even 1 or 2 times 3 dudes in a single episode.
One of the things that I definitely remember from Stardust Crusaders, unfortunately, is how it slows down a lot. But that isn't true for these first 12 episodes. These first 12 episodes, it's kept a nice pace.
Yeah.
Pacing slows down a little, but that's okay, because this part's nice and brisk.
Hey, my blinders are up. Hey.
Yeah. I can't talk about future. We're not here to talk about the future. We're here to talk about the past. 1988, I think, when Dio came out of the ocean. That's the start of this thing.
Oh my god, am I Dio? Oh god.
So, what'd you think about the retcon?
Oh, boy. That is trash.
There's literally no way to write around it. The anime's tried by writing in the second compartment. That wasn't a thing in the manga.
Really?
Yeah.
And,
wow.
Yeah, and you know, like I think I brought up before, there was also like a novelization someone else wrote where they tried to write it in that, you know, Jonathan's wife pulled the corpse into the second compartment because she wanted the body to have a burial or something like that, which means she also brought Dio's still alive head with her.
Yeah, which makes no sense, since him still being trapped in the boat was kind of important to the end of that scene.
The only time Dio has ever played possum. His pride would not allow it any other time.
I like the results of the retcon.
Yeah.
But it is just straight up a retcon. There's no way Dio could have gotten into his own coffin when that was literally the only way Arena and 2 babies escaped.
But before we get too much farther, though, there is a tradition of these episodes.
Oh, right.
I
I'm
apologize.
ahead of myself.
Yes. I need to present why I think JoJo is so popular.
Okay.
Yes.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is popular because it is trading cards.
All right, I can see it.
Not only are all these people's powers described by actual physical cards, but no, I mean, they all have stats and art you can look at and compare who has better speed. You can play top trumps, basically, with all of the stands
you two
now.
are watching in English, right?
Mostly.
Mostly? Okay, yeah, I've been watching the subs because that's just what I had access to. Are the stat cards translated?
On the Netflix version,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I've seen the translated cards, but never, like, not in the show. And I was really hoping that they were in the show, because that'd be real nice. It'd be convenient if you could see exactly what they have A rank and D rank in.
The graph is presented, but there's no overlay of English text on them, nor are they replaced with, like, native English text on them.
Yeah.
You just have to remember, you know, okay, 12 o'clock is this, 3 o'clock is this stat.
Mm-hmm. It's in that hexagon-style graph that's...
Yes.
That's popular in statistics for, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and nothing else.
Shindamaker? Nobody actually pronounces that word.
Yeah, that thing uses them. That's true. But every stand has one, and it's great.
But yeah, that is why I think that Stardust Crusaders at least grabs people, because you have these bite-sized pieces ready for debate and comparison, even though it is clear that the stats mean nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Deep Blue Moon, Dark Blue Moon is a great example. If you look at the stats for that stand, they suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think its best stat is like a B or something. Like, it's not good.
That's partially because a lot of its strength comes from the fact that it's like nearly untouchable in the water. Outside of the water, it's just a goofy monster.
It is a stand that is able to put up a hell of a fight, neutralize the entire party at once. But again, its stats max out at a B. Stats are meaningless.
Yes, the stats aren't important to a stand's abilities, although that's less true in these first 12 episodes than it will be forever after.
It just feels like there's like a special secret stat. It's, you know, like how Pokemon have EVs.
Yeah.
It feels like stands have those. Like...
Their ability isn't mentioned in the stats.
Yeah.
And one of the weird things about early stands is how bad they are about having abilities. It becomes much more defined and reasonable later. It's hard not to compare the first, 10 fights in JoJo to later stands, because...
But what are some examples? What do you mean when you say bad at having abilities?
Tower of Grey's ability is that the stand itself is fast, whereas Yellow Temperance is invincible body armor that eats biomass. That's far more like a stand ability. Whereas Tower of Grey is Fast Bug, and Hierophant Green is Snake Man.
Fast Bug always orders the lengua whenever it gets tacos. Yeah.
Yeah. It works, but Star Platinum doesn't have an ability. for a strong example. It's just the best stand. That's its ability.
Brain surgery, that's an ability.
Yeah, we talked about this in the first 3 episodes of this show, but yeah, Star Platinum's ability, as close as you can get to one, is the vague concept of precision.
Yeah.
And how many different things that can be applied to. Drawing a bug accurately? Yeah. Brain surgery? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know about y'all, but I think the most interesting part of the first 12 episodes of JoJo is how different it is from both what's come before and what comes after. It's the transition period of JoJo between Hamon and stands.
There is this wild new structure where basically everyone is Doobie. You take a look at Doobie and Wired back, what if that was the whole thing?
A good concept, to be fair. It just took Araki until Yellow Temperance to really get a hang on how stands should be. Before that, they're kind of just monsters. Which is neat, but there's so much more later.
Yeah, I'd say leading up to Yellow Temperance 2, the 2 before it, they get closer to what JoJo stands usually are. I mean, at least with strength, just the thing of this thing's stand is a big boat.
Yes.
That happens a decent amount in JoJo, stuff like that. And also the devil being kind of having a gimmick of a stand that acts like a curse, and the user has to get owned first.
You can tell for, I want to say, the entire first half of Stardust Crusaders, basically every stand is based on a horror movie.
Wow, I can't wait for the stand that's based on the bed that eats.
Are you sure that's not the devil?
That's kind of the devil, I guess.
I was gonna say there's a later one that fits better, but no, actually the devil is a lot closer to that, huh?
Yeah.
The way that fight plays out. The devil is definitely based on Chucky, but that fight is definitely based on a bed that will kill you.
An incredibly heavy bed.
He complains about the bed being heavy, but I think the problem is more that he's tied up and can't move his arms. Of these, Hangman is definitely the best episode, but Yellow Temperance and Empress are both excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Silver Chariot's an okay episode just because it's Avdol's only fight.
That bed is 265 pounds of bed.
Right,
Jesus.
That's right. Well, to be fair, Polnareff is a very, very big, beefy boy, so...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're weighing the whole thing together, 200 pounds of that is probably Polnareff.
Another point I wanted to bring up that I think is already being demonstrated by our discussion so far is that 3 is enough for rankings, and rankings means the free publicity of endless public debate.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about just within Stardust Crusaders, all these, stand users coming in as we travel further and further west, but also, JoJo versus JoJo versus JoJo, etc. Mm-hmm. Once you get to 3, that's the critical mass that there's always going to be somebody talking about something in relation to other things. That's what you need.
There's also and
it becomes a self-feeding hype machine.
The entire first episode is literally asking you to compare all 3 of the JoJos to each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here's Jotaro. Here's the new one. Here's Joseph. He's old now and he's scared of Dio. And he's gonna talk about how Dio stole his grandpa's body and they have to do something about it. And that scene at the lunch table is literally asking you to compare all 3 of them, as there's Dio with his big buff hot naked bod, Joseph pissing his pants in the corner, and Jotaro being like, man, this sucks. All 3 of them are just so different from one another.
Yes. I mean, I think you see that also as sort of refinement through iteration, which becomes very, very clear once you get to a third part of anything. Mm-hmm. The one I wanted to present is the idea that for at least a period, every hero group needs a kid sidekick or like a mascot child.
Yes, even though Anne does fuck all.
I would disagree. I think that Poco has a purpose to serve but no personality, while Smokey is a rounded character but has very little purpose, so he just disappears, and Anne is bursting with personality, while also moving at least one plot along by needing to be rescued. And really opening up and forcing Jotaro to look warmer, to be more human.
Yeah, that's true.
The only time you really see his softer side at all is when he is protecting the child.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say, yeah, but that part's already over, except, she's basically already out of the plot. But for these 12 episodes, yeah, she actually is pretty important to them.
Out of all 3 of the kid sidekick, she has the best entrance.
Yes. She also, I definitely strongly agree that I like her the most of the 3. She has the most personality. I just feel like these kid characters are a little unnecessary, and I can't talk about part 4, but I think Araki agrees by that point. But she's still here for now.
Yeah, it's because every JoJo, even though I like every part, there's always parts of JoJo where it's just like, oh, damn, that's a missed opportunity, or, oh, damn, he forgot about this thing I was excited about and nothing ever came out of that thing. Every JoJo feels like, but damn, if there's a second draft, this, and this could be so much better or even more interesting. Damn, the kid sidekicks are, I feel like out of the 3, Smokey is the one I always wanted to see more of.
I
and
agree wholeheartedly.
They never do anything with Smokey.
I think Anne does very well in the episodes she's a core part of, and then just kind of fades away. Whereas Smokey gets a great first episode intro and then vanishes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, fading away after you're not needed for the narrative anymore is an entirely legitimate thing. I would love to see that, frankly, more often in media.
That's true. I don't know. There's give and take. But while we're on the topic of problems of weekly serialization, I think that's by far the most interesting part of these first 12 episodes, is that there's a lot of shit in the first 3 episodes, 4 episodes maybe, that just isn't true ever again.
Yeah, from the first episode when, they kind of briefly explain the very, very basics of what stands are, there's already one thing wrong. And
2
that
things.
is actually, 2 things, I think. You're right.
Yeah.
The main one is if you watch Stardust Crusaders and then at a later point you go rewatch it, you're like, wait a fucking minute. How is Jotaro's Star Platinum getting toys and stuff from stores and bringing them to him? Because it's a short-range stand. It can't go that far. It cannot go that far to get him toys.
Its biggest weakness is that its entire range is 1 meter.
Yeah, it can barely leave,
that's the
take
one
3 steps
thing
away
stopping
from
it
him.
from destroying the world, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger things, but I was more talking about, there's 2 problems with Joseph's description of stands to Jotaro. The first being that the clarity of the stand shows the strength of it. This is never again mentioned or brought up, and it's for the best that it's never again mentioned, because I don't want to have to think about how ethereal a stand is.
You could say that that's part of Strength's whole thing. Strength is so strong that even people who can't normally see stands see it as a big ol'
There actually is a reason for that is actually consistent. Although I don't think Araki made it consistent until Yellow Temperance. That was just kind of backwritten into Strength.
Yeah.
It's that stands that possess physical things are still visible. So like Yellow Temperance, the Devil, and Strength, all three of them are stands that are possessing a physical object.
So the bellhop would have seen the
little
devil
doll
in
that cut
the doll.
his face off, yes.
Yeah. Except he lost the ability to see things very quickly.
Yeah.
Damn.
That was it. And then Yellow Temperance, everyone could see, because that was the point. It ate biomass to possess it and reshape it into like a doppelganger armor.
There's at least one other type of stand that gets introduced in these first 12 that like aren't really established as being a type of stand until later, but at least when they are officially introduced, it's like, oh, those previous stands make total sense now and
I
are
fucking
fairly
love
consistent.
stand types. If you want to bring me back for part 5, my favorite part.
Oh my god. But yeah, even like the Empress introduces stands that have their own personality, I believe.
Yeah. Which is totally a thing later, but it's rare. It's probably the rarest type of stand, but they're totally a thing.
I bet if you could get Star Platinum away from JoJo, he would have things to say.
He's so mean to his mother.
They would mostly be punch things.
Star Platinum is fun because it has personality, even though it's the type of stand that normally doesn't. It's the type of stand that's just an extension of the user, but Jotaro is a person who bottles up everything. And his stand is one that is constantly screaming. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah. No, I love that. Magician's Red just puts his earbuds in and doesn't pay attention to anybody.
To go back a minute, the other thing that Joseph says that is flat out wrong is how your breathing has anything to do with stand abilities. And the reason for that is because the very first time the stand was mentioned in like chapter 1 or 2 of them, it uses a kanji for stand. It never uses this again. It uses katakana to write stand out for the rest of the series. But the kanji reads Ghost Ripple.
Oh.
It was originally going to be a type of ripple. And Araki thought, no, that's fucking stupid. About halfway through writing that idea. And it's for the best that he did, because I think that would suck.
Hamon 2, the sequel to Hamon.
Yeah, let Hamon be its own thing.
Like,
yeah, I never knew that. That's interesting.
Yeah, which is why he says, like, after Avdol grabs Jotaro's throat, it's like, his stand is fading away, which, to go back to that transparency thing that didn't last for more than that fight. These are both retcon things. It's for the best that stands got to be their own thing.
I'm glad at least the retcon of how stands work, like, immediately happens within the second or third episode, basically. Or it doesn't even really have to retcon it. It just doesn't bring it up again. So you, the viewer, just fucking forget about it. And it feels way less frustrating. It isn't frustrating compared to, like, Hamon, where
they retcon it every 3 episodes.
Yeah, every fight or 2 is just like...
Here's a new thing.
Sure, yeah, totally.
Here's a pigeon. Here's icicles being used to build a rope.
If anybody who uses Hamon hands me a pigeon, I'm very suspicious. I've seen where those go. Filthy birds.
Because the retcon doesn't even last into the second fight, it's very easy to just brush that off as, like, there is a kernel of truth in that, and that the stand and the user are intimately connected, and you only have to take out one or the other to win the fights.
Yeah.
So, like, you can interpret Joseph as saying, his stand is fading away when he's choking out because he's about to fall unconscious. But that's not what he said. That's not at all what he said, but you can pretend it's what he said.
What do we think about the new boy band format of Stardust Crusaders? We got your bad boy, your nice boy, the spiritual one, the big brother one, the goofy one with a tragic soul.
Every part from here on out is Stardust Crusaders. Stand fight of the week, and you have an ensemble cast, and some of the cast will get fights against the new enemy opponents, and some of the cast will sit this one out for a bit so they can have their moment in the spotlight. It's nice. I like it.
Because, the first 2 parts are very JoJo-centric, and they have allies that either get a fight and then die, or immediately get jobbed or something like that.
Part 1 and Part 2 are just JoJo show.
Yeah, it's really nice to still have a JoJo who's still like the main character, but have all these other people who are just as important and get basically just as much screen time. And even in some later parts,
is he the main character? At least up to this point. I would say Polnareff is the central figure of the five.
I was about to say, with each part outside of JoJo, there's almost always a different like crew member,
a deuteragonist.
Yeah, who becomes like Araki's favorite. Like Polnareff, I would say, is Araki's favorite in this. Part 4 and Part 5 definitely have major favorites that are not JoJo.
Yeah. Part 5 has I guess there's 2 problems with it, and one of them is definitely that the JoJo stops being the main character about 10 episodes in.
Yeah.
And that's the same problem here with Polnareff starting in like episode 8 with the devil, where Polnareff is now mostly the main character for a while.
And if you look at it numerically, like who is doing the fight week to week, JoJo is at least tied, might beat Polnareff. But if you look at every other bit of action that happens, because Jotaro, like you said, is so closed off to the world, it's like just a brick wall of don't fucking talk to me. While Polnareff is a big, goofy guy with this vengeance quest. You know, he can fit in the comedy and the drama, and he's very, he fills time, even if he's not fighting, the way that JoJo absolutely does not do.
Yep. Polnareff is a fantastic character. I love him.
Would not want to hang out.
Agreed.
Great to watch, though.
Great to watch. Wonderful character, terrible friend.
JoJo too. Like, Kakyoin, Avdol, I'd hang out with them. We would hang.
Polnareff is the Zappelli of this part, but has the advantage of part 3. Araki decided JoJo doesn't have to do everything.
Yeah.
He's the first Zappelli who gets to do things. He's even a strange European with a weird power that isn't like everyone else's.
Going back to like the damn, this is the rudest JoJo who is mean to his mom, and I wish he wasn't fucking mean to his mom.
It sucks how this is the misogynist JoJo. Thanks for bringing me on for the misogynist part.
Like, Joseph was the horny one, but Jotaro's just fucking mean.
There is a reason for it, but it doesn't excuse it.
Yeah.
He was such a nice boy growing up, and I guess this is how Araki wrote a rebellious teen phase, is he decides to want to be a tough guy who gets angry at people fawning over him, and then constantly writes women fawning over him, so the end result is that he's always mean to women, and it sucks.
Yep.
I really like Holly.
Holly's great.
Holly rules. Yeah. Jotaro, you need to be nicer to your mom. You need to be thankful for how great your mom is. She's incredible.
I mean, Holly is basically answering the question, what would happen if Suzy Q got more spotlight for a little while?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she really is a clone of her mother. Yeah.
What if Erina was a character for the first 3 episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, she's one of the 2 things that gets the plot going, because now they got 50 days to save her life because of the curse, whatever. But at the same time, I'm just like, damn, I want to see a JoJo have a mom that's also a stand user. That would be fun.
That would have probably been a thing if this premise was like in part 5.
Yeah, if it were part 5.
But it's not. We're not there yet. We're in the transition phase when women are damsels.
Yeah.
Holly is like our 4th damsel in JoJo so far, and we're about to get a 5th with Anne.
If it works for Mario, it works for JoJo.
Holly's the first one I'd consider the princess, though.
We've talked about what we don't like, obviously, about JoJo and his introduction, but what...
There is one thing that I super like, but it's something that shows up more later, and I want to know if you 2 noticed it.
What to the group, I am asking, presenting to the table this question, what makes Jotaro, likable, interesting, compelling? Why do we want to follow him, even if he's a very rude boy who's mean to his nice, caring, loving mother?
Jotaro, for me, is like a slow burn JoJo.
Yes.
It takes a long time before suddenly you realize, like, oh, damn, Jotaro's pretty cool. There are a couple things, like, Grant, you noticed it, and I brought it up too. Araki has explicitly said that he has based Jotaro off of characters that Clint Eastwood has played, like Dirty Harry.
Yes.
That vibe comes through super hard. But even like the second fight you get with him, where he's fighting Kakyoin, all of Jotaro's fights, whenever he's the main one doing the fighting, at least, damn, his fights always have a big sense of like catharsis and relief at the end when he wins, because
yes.
Damn, he fucks people up real good and like a real satisfying. Like the when he's about to punch Hierophant Green and he curls up each finger individually to make the fist.
That animation is so good.
Jotaro really is just like the cool guy, and it actually works for me in a way a lot of like characters that are just supposed to be cool don't. You know, aside from that, there are things I can't really speak about yet. You know, there's still 3/4 of the show left.
There's still another 3/4 of the show left. Yeah,
and I think that like brutal excitement of the fights is tied in with his stated mission statement.
Yeah,
which is something his predecessors I don't think had so clearly. Is that he is the bringer of 80s anti-hero justice.
Yes, extremely.
He's the Punisher, and he will punish you with a punch ghost.
He's a jerk with a heart of gold who works really, really, really hard at making sure you all think he's a tough guy.
It helps that he is very tough, though.
And he wants you to think that he's tough, so he acts like a huge jerk all the time, even though he cares so much about everyone around him, and he just bottles that up.
He is a version, for me at least, he is a version of Cloud Strife that is way better at bottling up all of his nerdy tendencies.
He definitely has them.
Well, yeah, how else could he hang out with Kakyoin?
Yes, for sure. Which brings me to the thing that there's hints of it now, so I'll talk about the genesis of it, but there's so much more of it later. Jotaro sucks at catchphrases.
Yeah,
that's my favorite thing about him.
They all do.
No, but he's the worst at it. In Dark Blue Moon, he had to ask Avdol for help. That is my favorite scene in that fight, is when after he punches Captain Dragon into the ocean, he turns to Avdol and says, "Avdol, say something for me." And then Avdol has to give the line about, you're too young to outpredict a fortune teller thing.
God, he
can't think of one.
He said the thing about wetting yourself. That's something.
Yeah, his one-liners when he does come up with them suck ass. They're the worst. He's so bad at them. And you'll see that in spades in like 8 episodes.
Yeah, it'll be ages before we see this one, but there is one Jotaro like little quip that is so fucking bad it loops around to being badass again. But
is this the one in part? Damn it, can't talk about anything.
You immediately know which one I'm talking about.
Yes, I know which one because it's my favorite too.
Yeah, it kicks ass. It's so bad that it's cool.
Yes, it is literally the definition of so bad it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, even when you see what Jotaro was like getting brought to him in his jail cell, it's a bunch of nerd shit. He's reading Shonen Jump and driving little RC cars.
Yeah, he gets a boombox and a beer.
Yeah.
Those are the cool things he gets.
It's just like the late 80s, 90s Tood version was supposed to be cool. Like, it is just, the only thing he's missing is a skateboard.
And that's just because there isn't room.
Yeah.
Where would he skateboard? In that, like, 6 foot by 6 foot cell?
Oh, he'll just have Star Platinum knock down a wall. He's going to get a double wide.
Stardust Crusaders took place like 10 or 15 years later. Instead of a skateboard, he would just have those little tech deck things. He'd just be doing tricks on a table.
He'd have a collection of pogs going.
Yeah.
Yeah, JoJo would definitely get the Scarface poster and not watch Scarface.
God, he would.
Jotaro strikes me as somebody who has a very secret nerdy collection of something that he hides from everyone.
We do know what that is from later bits, but yes.
Oh, right!
He does, actually.
Yeah, he does, actually. I forgot.
Again, Jotaro's a character who only gets better over time, and we're in the very early parts where he sucks the most and is a big misogynist.
But is still kind of likable.
He's still kind of likable because, and I think this is extremely important, every one of his fights is about him rescuing somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There isn't, except for the first fight with Avdol, which is kind of just him and Avdol being tough guy pricks.
Yeah. It's not even a fight so much as it is a puzzle. I love the way Avdol wins by defining what a win is before it begins.
Before the fight starts.
That's a great moment.
Yeah. He's the cleverest one of the bunch, which, I mean, when he's next to Joseph, I guess is saying a lot, but... So I want to talk about how Kakyoin is very, very extra in episode 2.
Yeah?
So...
I mean, yeah.
How about the thing with the painting? when his stand power has fuck all to do with that.
That's true.
Yeah, that is another very early thing where it's like, wait, that never comes back? Yeah, what the fuck is that painting thing?
Yeah, with the painting and the marionette, you get the feeling that, like, Araki wanted to do a thing where he could only control his long-range stand through, like, proxy. But that doesn't stick, because it's for the best that he can just do whatever with his stand, because it's a psychic power.
There's sometimes, especially in early parts of Stardust Crusaders, but it pops up in other random parts where, like, you look back at a thing and go like, wait, that's not how that works. What the fuck?
Kind of the early part of every part has this happen.
Where it's just like, okay, maybe this makes sense if the show is selectively not showing us the actual stand doing the thing to be more mysterious. Because, like, okay, he slashes the painting and then JoJo's leg starts bleeding and he falls over. That could just be Hierophant Green, long range, just slicing his leg, but we just don't see it. I'm fairly certain
it's supposed to be his Emerald Splash that he cuts his leg with. They actually added, like, a flash of green when it happens in the anime, which wasn't there.
Oh,
well, I guess it couldn't be there in the manga. It's not in color.
I mean, I guess there is a sense that the flesh bud gives you a little bit of Dio-ness, a little bit of just, how can I do this with some flair? Because even Polnareff, like, I can't imagine him, like, teasing anybody with a piece of fruit after he joins the crew.
Kakyoin, like, his stand still has the abilities that he showed off in his first fight. He just doesn't use them as much because it's a more, like, evil way of using Hierophant Green.
He's not going to possess anybody now that he's a good guy.
Yeah,
right,
he can do that, but...
He can, but he's not going to go puppet anybody. He's trying to be good.
He'll just shoot more Chaos Emeralds.
He will, however, stab a beetle 80 times to cut an old man into bits. But that old man killed like 10 people. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just that day. That old man crashed a airliner, killing 300 over Scotland.
On top of being an assassin for hire who did who knows how many jobs outside of that one.
I've always wondered, how did Tower of Grey crash that other plane and then survive?
Yeah, that's sort of a thing that's never mentioned or brought up, because his stand power certainly can't save him. There are stands that could save a lot of people from plane crashes. Tower of Grey is not one of them.
It's easy to get a parachute and get off the plane if you're the only one who knows the plane is about to crash.
That's true.
There's no line up until a certain point.
Just bring a parachute in his carry-on.
Because I was going to say, like, yeah, he's not a type of guy who has a stand range that's hundreds of meters.
Let's talk about Joseph's transition to becoming support Grampy.
He's a really good support Grampy. I actually prefer him this way over his regular part, and he's pretty good in part 2.
Yeah, I love both Josephs, but there's something about old Joseph I like a whole lot. Especially, I just love his look. I love the designs of all the characters of the main group in part 3, but I really like old Joseph's all of his get-ups.
He has a good design. And I like that his stand is really weird and different than everyone else's. There's just these vines that let him see things that are far away.
Yeah, it's the first stand, and honestly the only for quite some time, that really pushes the boundaries of what a stand can be. You've seen Punch Ghost, Fire Punch Ghost, and now what the fuck is this?
I can break a camera to get a picture.
It doesn't look like a guy. It has its own specific, like, rules and use case. Like, wow, stands can be a lot of things. Okay.
It's the third stand we see, and it's already a second type of stand, and it's a type of stand that's super rare and uncommon. Yellow Temperance is the same type. It's like this armor type stand that wraps around the user. I really like those type of stands, and they're very uncommon.
Yeah. I forget if this was ever an official... There is some drawing out there. I can't remember if it's an official thing or if it was like done for some weird novelization that Araki didn't work on, but there is some illustration out there showing what Hermit Purple looks like if Joseph just wasn't there, and it actually is supposed to be like a weird viney guy. It's just overlapping Joseph or something. I can't remember if that's an official thing or not.
I have no idea. I haven't heard of that.
I'll have to see if I can find that later.
But I will say that it is foreshadowing for Holly's stand. That I feel like that's the main purpose of it being a weird vine, is so that way when Holly's stand is a vine that strangles the life out of her, you're not too surprised.
Right, yeah.
By that point, or shortly after, we've also seen Dio doing vine things. It just seems like, the family vine.
I also don't know if this is an actual Araki said thing, or air quotes Araki said thing, that's just the fandom. But apparently, if Holly didn't get bedridden by her stand, it would have been another armor-type stand that lets her walk through walls.
Huh.
Ooh.
So that would have been rad as fuck, and I wish she could have gone on the JoJo adventure with everyone.
Man, that would have been cool.
The fights you could do with that kind of ability is rad as fuck.
Yeah,
I've read X-Men.
Just look at... Exactly. Just ask Chris Claremont. He'll tell you. Yeah.
Go look over at Kitty Pryde.
I also feel like if you had Holly in the group and her ability was, walking through walls, there's probably a lot of comedy you could write through that because she's a pretty goofy character. Like, her just busting through walls and surprising people seems like it'd be pretty funny.
Also, strength would have been her fight.
Oh shit, she could just go through the walls with them. Yeah.
She'd just walk through the walls to pursue him.
Yeah.
And she's the only one who wouldn't be trapped when he decides to get serious and trap everyone and think he won. Also, we wouldn't have needed Anne to be in the shower because she would have been in the shower because it's that kind of show.
I can't say you're wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think part of what makes Joseph's transition into, just being part of the team and one of the least active, although more present parts of the team, less battling, much more in the planning and direction and, the navigator of the squad. It lets his goofy side come out, and just being 50 years older, it adds that very fussy layer onto his goofy side. He doesn't have to carry the action, so he can just be the big personality that we love.
Jotaro is the misogynist, and Joseph is the racist.
Yeah.
His racism is funny and harmless, but it is still very much anti-Japanese racism that also applies to, like, every other Easterner he ever meets.
Oh, he's real concerned about what's going on in India. It really comes out in those first minutes.
Like, the first thing he says in India, I feel like this is a country where everyone eats eats curry and gets sick all the time. And then, of course, he's the one who gets infected by a stand infection. Just to, make him more worried about diseases. Oh, and then the doctor has a rusty scalpel just to further enforce his prejudices, make him freak out a little more, for funsies, for
he's
jokes.
An English-trained doctor.
Yeah, he knows how to do appendectomies.
That's a rusty scalpel straight from London town, I'll have you know.
And then he gets wanted for murder, and it's never brought up again.
Speedwagon lawyers are real good.
If they don't all have a murder on their rap sheet by the end of this, that's a missed opportunity.
To be fair, I think the only reason Jotaro doesn't is because he manages to murder people so brutally no one finds the body.
Yeah.
Like, Yellow Temperance just gets left in the ocean.
Right.
As does Dark Blue Moon, as does Strength. He just keeps giving people burials at sea. Tower of Grey 2, probably. They had to do a crash landing in the water.
God, right, yeah. Something I like, especially when, like, in later parts when stands are, a lot more, not standardized, but the types of fights and abilities you get are start, getting more solidified.
They're standardized in the sense that every stand has a specific ability instead of just being this sort of fuzzy collection.
Yeah. But what I start to, and it starts to show through in some of the fights even early on here, like Yellow Temperance and even the Strength, is I really like how a lot of stand fights no longer turn into, we just got to punch better than the other punchy guy.
Yeah, that's out the window. That's gone.
Yeah, and they turn into this power. I don't know how the fuck my power can even counteract this guy's power. They're so fucking weird and different. How do they even interact? This is just a big boat.
And the whole fight is figuring out that question, which is, it kicks ass.
Yeah, like, this is a big boat that can just swallow us. How do we can't punch the boat. How do we do this one? Although that one's just an easy answer. Just fucking kill the guy using the boat. Yellow Temperance, it just eats everything. You can't punch it. What do you even do? Like, a lot of the early solutions are just go after the guy using the stand, but it's still like a fun puzzle, and it's no longer just...
To be fair, that's also very different than other things like this. Stand fights have a unique dynamic where you can either fight the stand or the user. So if a stand is like crazy invincible and you can't deal with it, look for the guy controlling it. Like Tower of Grey's situation, although they ended up killing the stand anyway.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of shows that end up going like the Monster of the Week format or something, and they can get a little stale or repetitive after a while. But with stands, because everything is so wacky and different every single time, because that's the format of stands, like, it never gets super tiring for me.
Yeah. The fact that every fight completely changes up the parameters going in is really nice.
Yeah.
That said, though, Jotaro's stand power is I get within 1 meter of you, I win. So
yeah,
all of his fights are about having to get within that 1 meter range.
Yeah.
And then he cheats in Dark Blue Moon and shoots his fingers.
God damn it, I hate Starfinger. I'm glad it never shows up again.
It shows up twice more.
Does it actually? I thought it only appeared in...
I think both of the new times it shows up are anime editions, actually. Like, they add it to situations where it would make sense. It's never the win button it is in Dark Blue Moon again. It's just something he whips out in the middle of a fight a couple times.
That's right. 'Cause I remember looking up the entry for Starfinger on the wiki, and I was just like, it never shows up after strength. If the anime adds
it does.
Again.
Okay. It shows up a couple more times. In parts it would make sense, honestly. It's kind of rad. Good. I like that they added it in, so I guess be on the lookout for that in the next 30 episodes.
Oh boy, Starfinger shows up again. Yeah, I'm glad none of the others... I'm glad that, like, Polnareff suddenly doesn't realize, wait a minute, I can just make my sword stretchy or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
So we've talked a little bit about each of our boys, but with one big exception, that I think we do have a lot to speak about, Avdol, especially because we are putting this right after his death. And in the last episode, we didn't speak much about it because, much like the characters, we had a whole lot of other stuff to do that
There's
day.
so much going on in the Emperor and Hanged Man fight, and then the Empress right after that. Yeah, I can see that episode being a little bit packed.
So, like I mentioned then, I was saving my thoughts just for runtime concerns to now. So let's talk about Avdol. Avdol and...
I really, really like Avdol. I really don't like how he's literally... Well, part 3 is based on horror movies, so of course the black man died first. It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. There are, as there always are when you're talking about specific examples of a trope, there are mitigating circumstances. Like he's the one with the most personal connection to Polnareff. In the episode about Polnareff's, growth and maturity, he's very necessary to the group in that he is their guide to the world of stands and mysticism. That's a very big loss for them to take, but also vulnerable because his name ain't on the cover. Nor was he on the cover of, the previous part.
His stand is very strong, but pyrokinesis isn't a defensive ability.
Yeah.
He keeps using pyrokinesis wrong, but it's not supposed to be a defensive ability. I don't like how Araki wrote Magician's Red's powers.
Out of the whole group, I think Magician's Red is probably the least interesting.
I think the big problem is mostly that the fire doesn't work like fire, it works like rope. Like, he always uses it to capture people and lift them and throw them around. Fire's danger is that it's hot and burn. It feel bad. It feel bad and hard to go near.
Real good for making clocks with, though. Not a lot of people know that.
It's hard to believe that his fire even burns at all because, like, he lights Polnareff completely on fire and Polnareff's just like, I deserve this. He
also did it to Jotaro in the first episode.
That's right. Yeah, and he's just like...
both of his fights, he lights his opponent entirely on fire and threatens to hospitalize them, and then he just snaps his fingers and they're fine.
Yeah.
He pulls the fire back so good it pulls the burns back with it.
Avdol's a nice guy.
It makes no sense.
Avdol is a nice guy, and I think that's part of why he slinks into the background. Because Kakyoin also doesn't get a lot of focus himself, but is often brought forward as, a foil to JoJo, as a comparison point to Jotaro. Whereas Avdol doesn't have that sort of ready use. He's just a nice, pleasant man who sometimes knows about a stand user and sometimes doesn't.
I really, really like Avdol as a person. It just, he doesn't get to do too much. Because he's only here for 11 episodes.
I think it's really unfortunate that he didn't get to fight an enemy stand user. He got to convert an enemy to a friend. That's cool. But he didn't get, to face a really, fucking evil dude.
I am certain it's because Araki couldn't figure out how to not just write his power as, I set them on fire and I win. Because he doesn't have Jotaro's range problem. He doesn't have Kakyoin's problem where Hierophant Green is actually kind of weak. It has to use trickery to get anything done. Polnareff's stand is very good for doing fights because it's just a cool fight man.
Yeah.
It's a cool fight man that doesn't instantly win like Star Platinum does. It actually has to go through the fight, so that's why Polnareff gets a lot of fights, and then Avdol doesn't because they're hard to write. He just gets fights where he's not allowed to cut loose. Even though that was literally the thing he says, haha, I can cut loose here in this park because there's no one around with Silver Chariot, and then they just kind of play around with each other.
I melted that statue to make it look like it was me getting owned.
And then threw it at you with my pyrokinesis' ability to throw things. Yeah, the first, 5 stands are all based on, supernatural phenomenon, if that isn't obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Jotaro's is telekinesis that eventually, doesn't stay that way because he can no longer get things from outside of a cell. And then there's clairvoyance for Joseph, and Avdol's is pyrokinesis, and Kakyoin's is, possession. That's what his power was.
Right.
That doesn't stick.
I will say that, damn, the way Avdol goes out, though, is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
He goes out like a goddamn hero who lost his life like a fool, and it sucks. It sucks and it owns at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it is great for, like we've mentioned, the stakes of the story. Mm-hmm. It really sells these increasingly dangerous stand users, Hanged Man in particular. And, the drama of it, that Polnareff is being saved by, his one true love, who would have been alive if he just listened to him in the first place a few hours earlier.
Yeah.
We've come so far in the way people die in JoJo from all of the dismembered talking body parts of part 1 that, they don't die until their life's work is complete, and they still have all of these powerful, comforting last words of wisdom to share. No, when people die, they just fucking die. And then to underline that, Whole Horse says so.
Yeah. That scene where Kakyoin is shaking his body, is like, hey, it's just a light wound, right? You'll wake up, right? Is really traumatizing. Remember, Kakyoin's 16.
Yeah.
And he just watched this man die in his arms because his friend was being an idiot.
The way Avdol dies, it also feels like that type of gritty, because it was literally just happening right before Avdol shows up with, this kind of, Wild West, cowboy duel almost. Damn, it feels like just, a really brutal murder in the Wild West or something, because he just dies on a dirt street, falls in a fucking puddle, just with a gunshot wound to the head.
Yeah, it's extremely Western.
Yeah.
Very sudden, very brutal. And also fantastic motivation for Polnareff to stick with the crew to the ends of the earth. Because now this is personal again. Before, he had his own personal quest. Well, he's did that with the help of Avdol, who died helping him doing it. So now he's gotta avenge Avdol.
One thing I would really have liked and hope eventually comes, I don't know, probably not at this point, but with the way that the anime, just to maintain, timing and pace and episode length, keeps adding these little moments, these little cutaways. Why couldn't we have an image of that funeral that that our JoJo's mentioned? Why can't we have, please, just a little moment of tribute for the nice, kind man?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do wish that was added too, especially because they have already added, multiple little things, and they continue to do so throughout the whole thing.
I would rather have that than just another bit of whatever Enya's mad about today. If you're going to add something...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really unhappy. I didn't remember that scene where he just clubbed a cat over the head for no reason. That wasn't great to end on.
At least the cat kind of shrugs it off and just runs off. Cause,
that blow looked like it would have killed it.
Yeah, I feel like if that same scene happened, but it was a dog, that dog would have just fucking exploded.
Oh yeah, how about the dead dog in this part?
Oh, that's a hell of a dog.
That's a hell of a dead dog.
The dog gets named seconds before its head gets ripped off. Jesus Christ.
At least its name is literally just Poochie. So we know Araki didn't think about it too hard.
Right.
That was probably the most brutal dog death yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's going to be topped.
I would say it won clearly by a head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
After a long period of time of there being no dog death in JoJo, it came back real crazy.
Part 2 even had cars kill a bunch of humans to save a dog.
That sad old puppy. That was an old puppy.
It was. I love that scene too. This is part 2, but I don't know. Cars is great before he undoes his hair. I really like him in the first half of part 2 a lot. Because of shit like that. To just emphasize, oh, he's a good person, he just wants all humans dead, you know?
He wouldn't step on a flower.
Yeah, he wouldn't step on a flower, he wouldn't hurt a dog.
He wants to bring new things into the world. Stone masks, air guitar, beautiful, beautiful things.
Vampires to eat. I really like how Hermit Purple got its usage expanded in The Empress to actually being a useful stand.
Yeah, even though it's basically just like, well, okay, yeah, I can wrap around other things, and, well, hey, I'll just use physics to tear this thing off my arm. The very slow expansion of what visual mediums can be used for spirit photography. Okay,
Like, he uses
TVs.
a television in Yellow Temperance very poorly, but it's better than breaking a $300 camera every time.
Yeah.
Just breaking a $600 TV, yeah.
He doesn't even break the TV, Dio does.
Right, yeah, Dio.
Yeah,
blows
yeah,
it up.
you try explaining that to the front desk, okay?
That's true, he does have to pay for it still. But it's the same situation as that doctor that got murdered by the Empress. It wasn't his fault, he's just the only one there, so he's gonna get blamed anyway.
I'm so sorry, but a sexy evil vampire blew up your TV in my room.
I keep finding naked pictures of him.
Yeah, I know he's my grandpa, kind of. I am aware, okay? Don't look at me like that.
Can you imagine what Jotaro was thinking when his grandpa suddenly showed up one day, busted him out of jail to show him naked pictures of his great-great-grandpa?
He probably said good grief.
Yeah, yada yada does it. But yeah, I really like how Hermit Purple gets expanded into a proper-ass ability when it really wasn't in episode 1 and 2. It just kind of was a joke. I really do like how when Dio takes a spirit picture with his own Hermit Purple, he doesn't break the camera. He just puts his vines in and the picture comes out.
Right, yeah, he just taps it.
Just to show that Joseph doesn't have to break the camera. He just does.
Avdol told him once as a joke, and he still thinks it's funny.
On the topic of retcons, Hermit Purple is not Dio's stand. There's 2 explanations for this, depending on whether you want to go with the official retcon for why this works, or the real reason.
It's Jonathan's stand. This is the family stand.
Yes, that's the official reason.
Yeah. Jotaro's just a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, that's the official retcon-y reason. The real reason is because I'm fairly sure Araki wanted to write Dio stand as every stand, but long before we get to Dio, realized that would be stupid. That wouldn't work with how stands evolved.
That's just the car's ultimate being, but with stands. Like,
yeah, because with Enya's introduction of how you have the power to take over the world, it feels like it's leading up to that. But then he gets a different stand power, and you won't see that for 40 episodes.
You know, even though the show is adding a lot of extra scenes of, like, what's Enyaba mad about today? It is nice to get at least a little bit more of Dio's presence in the early episodes, even if it's just him skulking around the shadows, being like, I'm sexy today, you know?
I like how Enya functions as a counterpart to Dio, so Dio can still be this brooding, mysterious man, while he still has someone shouting all of his evil plans from the rafters.
Is she, oh my god, is she evil Speedwagon?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's literally her role. She's evil Speedwagon.
There's an evil Speedwagon.
Oh, man.
Even more evil than Nazi Speedwagon.
I can't even disagree. Part 2 goes out of its way to try to redeem Stroheim, and then, kills him off unceremoniously in the end, which is for the best, because he's still a fucking Nazi.
Yeah.
But Enya, she's just evil.
Enya's just evil, and everyone's fine with her just being evil.
Hangman is also extremely fucking evil.
Yeah.
But she thinks of him as, he's such a sweet, pure boy.
What a good boy, my son.
How could anyone hurt him without resorting to trickery? That said, that fight with him is so fucking cool.
Hangman is a really good fight. It's also really cool to get a stand fight that's got 2 guys in it, even though, it's not always 2 guys.
Yeah,
but...
which I think is probably why Part 5 is my favorite. Yeah, something I meant to say earlier and didn't, is I think, this is an unpopular take, but I like every part more than the previous. Like, my list of favorite parts goes in opposite order.
Oh man, part 9 is going to blow your mind once it exists.
Once it exists. I don't know if there'll be a part 9.
Part 8's been going on for a really long time, if I remember correctly.
Apparently it's in the final fight. I don't know, I don't read the manga.
I've been meaning to read, but also sometimes
But I don't want to spoil part 6 when the anime's coming out.
Yeah, same. And I've already, unfortunately, kind of been spoiled on some of the really big things that happen.
I've been spoiled on a bunch of random crap throughout the series for part 6 and 7.
Yeah, thankfully...
A couple random bits in part 8, but...
Yeah, thankfully, because of the way JoJo works, even if you get spoiled, it's kind of
like, I don't enjoy it anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it anyways, and 2, I don't believe you. Oh, shit, I guess I should have believed you, because that's what happened.
Well, I mean, stuff I was spoiled on is I know what the stands of parts 6 and 7's protagonists do. But,
yeah.
Knowing what Star Platinum does doesn't make it less cool.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a problem. I've seen what the Part 4 and Part 5 protags do. I'm sure it'll be wild.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about the Hanged Man fight, though, I enjoy is because it shows another strength of our adventuring party structure and how each pair has their own dynamic.
Yes.
And which is another reason I wish Avdol would have, lived longer. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see just Avdol get to be in more of these pair-ups, but Kakyoin and Polnareff really worked well together in adversity.
Yeah.
Which is something you would not expect. They required the adversity to finally work well together.
It worked really well. And yeah, this is where I was going with that a second ago. Part 5 is my favorite because it's full of these team-up fights. Almost every fight is a team-up fight. It fucking rules. And I wish Part 3 had more of it. Because they're so good. They add such a dynamic. When 2v2 stand fights are another level above a 1v1 stand fight.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's twice as much. Yeah. It stands to reason. Literally,
the reason they could beat Hanged Man, which is such a strong stand, is because they had to flip it from a 2v1 against Polnareff into a 2v1 against Hanged Man.
And they had to argue about the existence of mirror dimensions.
Yeah.
Which is really funny for later reasons.
Uh-huh.
You can't spoil JoJo's, but there is a mirror world.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. A later stand has a mirror world, and they just deal with it then.
Yep.
Yeah, it happens, whatever. And it's very funny that Kakyoin is so insistent that there isn't one, because that's just not true, apparently. I love the parts where they say no, that's not what you say in the situation where Kakyoin and Polnareff are doing that back and forth to each other. When you're about to get revenge, you have to say something like, "My name is Jean-Pierre Polnareff, you killed my sister, prepare to die."
Are you sure you didn't get the episodes that I offered to send you? Are you sure?
It's so fucking good. That was definitely taken from Princess Bride, so there's no, in the original, when Araki was writing it, so there's no way you didn't make the same joke. Everyone does, because it's the joke. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's just straight up, no denying. That's what that's from.
Polnareff's character is pretty much based on Inigo Montoya.
Anime Inigo Montoya.
Yeah, and it's great. Even the part where he's, got a weird weakness for women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Hanged Man is by far my favorite. I think it's my favorite, the fight of the first half of Stardust Crusaders. And it's a strong endpoint for these 12 episodes.
Yeah, there's one or two in the second half of this first arc that are also pretty strong, I think. But Hanged Man is...
Yeah.
The stakes for Hanged Man are so high, and he is such a threatening, powerful stand where you don't know how the fuck... Especially when you're in the halfway point of that, where they're just driving the fuck away, trying to get away, and it's just how the fuck can they even beat a stand like this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One thing that I think sets apart Stardust Crusaders from its predecessors is it's surprisingly profane.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's got real potty mouths. You could not imagine anyone talking about sewer cockroach dicks in either of the previous two parts.
Yeah.
Who is the most foulest mouthed character in part 2? Wired Beck? He never said that shit.
Yeah.
To be fair, he also only had 1 minute to say anything.
Part 3, I think, is the foulest, grossest part of JoJo, as far as just
yeah.
There's a lot of disgusting body horror and violence in later parts for sure, but especially part 5.
Yeah, part 5 is brutal as fuck. If you thought Avdol's death was brutal, or anything in these episodes was brutal, part 5 takes it to another level But that's a different thing from the profanity and the...
Yeah.
Some of the insults in part 3, my guy.
Yeah, everyone's just swearing, and there's just, like, a lot of just, like, normal gross stuff in part 3. They're in just, like, a lot of... They just end up in situations that are just really gross and dirty, or, like... Part 3, we haven't seen a lot of it yet. There's just a lot of poop. There's a lot of poop.
Yeah.
There's the pig poop
Polnareff
toilet.
is going to have toilet troubles. Just a warning.
Yes.
That's a recurring motif that Polnareff has problems with bathrooms.
Yeah, there's...
I think that bathroom had a problem with him.
That's probably more true, yes, but, like, just saying that this isn't even the end. This isn't even the start of it.
Yeah, there's just, like, a lot of just gross poop stuff and just gross body stuff in general, like biological stuff in later parts of part 3, where it's just like, that never really comes up again.
The very first episode, even, of part 3, Jotaro saves himself from Avdol by breaking open a toilet.
Yeah.
He splashes
That's
himself
true.
with toilet water to fight Avdol better.
There's just something about part 3 that's gross, and like more of a base human way, and less of a conceptual body horror way.
I think part of it, too, is that Araki wanted to write Around the World in 80 Days with JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that in the tourism parts, too.
Yeah.
Something I really like about part 3 in general that is never again in a later part and wasn't really, and was sort of in part 2, kind of, maybe, is all these extra bits where they're just talking about their new location and how it's cool and different from the rest of the world. Like how you can get hot cola in Hong Kong, which isn't something you get anywhere else.
There's a reason for that, I bet.
Yeah, I think there is. It's because hot cola sounds gross. As Joseph even mentions in the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do really appreciate like the tourism, the sightseeing aspect of part 3. Because it just really comes through super hard for me that Araki really just likes visiting other places. Because I believe I said it in earlier episodes. I think Araki actually did like travel to visit a lot of the places he put in part 3.
I think that's true of part 5 as well.
Also part 6, I think.
Yeah, I've heard it's true of part 6, but again, I haven't seen part 6 yet. And I don't think it's possible for part 7.
Oh, no. From what I know about part 7, yeah, not possible. Yeah, it just comes through very hard that, you know, he enjoyed traveling and wanted to share that.
Like, Kakyoin's main character trait at this point, besides being the quiet guy, is that he read a lot of tourist guides.
Yeah.
Like, when they go to Hong Kong, he is so excited to talk about all of the native delicacies that you should have to try.
I don't know if this part was in the manga or if it was added for the anime or what, but all the little bits that are, like, kind of easy to miss that are just Kakyoin being a really, really good boy. Like, oh yeah, during the Yellow Temperance thing, and the real Kakyoin comes back and is like, where the fuck have you been? And he's just like, oh, sun tanning.
In your uniform?
Oh yeah.
Alright,
totally.
That's the real one. It's just like, he's such a fucking weirdo, and it's great.
It's in a real low-key way that's easy to, like, just ignore.
On the topic of things that are really easy to overlook, this is something that's definitely true just from backstory and the thing, just from reading into it a little. Yellow Temperance definitely tried to do that cherry thing to convince Jotaro he was the real Kakyoin. Like, it wasn't meant to be a weird, creepy thing. He must have met Kakyoin when he was in Egypt 3 months ago, and was like, oh, he does this weird thing with the cherries. If I do that too, he'll definitely know I'm the real Kakyoin, because no one else does that. Jotaro hadn't seen Kakyoin do the weird thing with the cherry yet. And thought it was just him being a weird creep.
Kakyoin also liked to eat giant bugs in Egypt.
Yeah.
It's just a weird coincidence.
Just a weird coincidence.
It only comes up a little bit every once in a while, but it's definitely in, like, the beginning of the Yellow Temperance fight. But man, the further on you get into JoJo, the more, like, the stand fights start to feel like fever dreams that you cannot escape. Like, you want to wake up. Because everything just gets really weird and just a little off-kilter, and, like, no one else believes you that everything's weird and off-kilter. Like, that is an aspect I like in later JoJo fights and stuff. This is actually the second animated adaptation of Stardust Crusaders.
Yes, that's true.
There was a 90s OVA series. It didn't adapt the entire thing. It condensed it. And it also really
condensed it very strangely.
Yeah, there's some really weird changes. It's also weird to see because the art style didn't really try to adapt the style of the manga at all.
Yeah,
it's got its own look.
It's literally Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, Joseph is blonde.
Ooh.
There's just some really weird random changes, like when Jotaro is fighting Kakyoin for the first time. That fight ends up in a bamboo thicket, like in a forest.
Yeah, they fight in like a forest. It's very strange. The other thing with that OVA that's really wild is the back half of it was made first.
Oh, yeah.
They made 6 episodes covering the entire back half of Stardust Crusaders, basically just hitting the best of fights. And then they went back and tried to fit the first half of Stardust Crusaders into another 6-episode OVA, like 7 years later. And those episodes are far worse.
Now, which one has Charles Martinet?
The back half has Charles Martinet in it.
The back half, which is the first half.
The good half.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, they decided that strength is one of the important fights to adapt.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
Like, it's Kakyoin, Silver Chariot, Strength, Emperor, and then 2 other fights you haven't got to yet.
Yeah, that whole thing is really weird. Everyone's face has much more rounded features, so seeing Jotaro with kind of a round chin instead of being super angular, it's really weird.
Oh, have you seen the picture of Jotaro with the lines removed from his face?
No.
I will go look it up, because he actually looks like a 17-year-old.
A small aspect of the art direction that we pointed out before in a previous podcast, but I just want to bring up quickly again, is I love if somebody's meant to be cool, they got those weird shoulders, the weird shoulder pads.
Even the kid gets them, which is amazing.
Yeah. Oh my god! Look at him without the lines in his face!
He looks like a 17-year-old!
Whoa!
There actually was a teenager under there!
God, now he looks like JoJo's from later parts just by removing the cheek lines. Holy shit.
He looks like a Part 4 character now.
Yeah, he does. That's crazy. That's great.
It's so good. It works really well.
I gotta send Voidburger that. She'll love it.
What happens if you take all the other lines off?
Now he's a baby.
You take off his chin dimple. You take off his knuckles. He's just super smooth.
Oh, then we're Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had me on for these 12 episodes, because I definitely don't remember the next 12 nearly as fondly.
There's a couple that I definitely remember pretty well, but yeah, this is a little bit of a blank spot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm interested to rewatch these and see how I think about them again. Aside from like 2 kind of weird fights, Strength and Blue Moon, the beginning 12 episodes are fairly strong, actually. I thought they were going to be weaker.
I'm having fun.
I remembered them being worse, but honestly, like, as much as the devil's plan fucking sucks ass that he has to get stabbed in order for his stand to do good things, it's a cool fight.
It's not his fault.
No, he just needs a better way of forming grudges.
Yeah.
He's just got to get, like, really, I don't know, really high-strung, I guess.
He needs to wear protective gear or something. At least protect your eyeballs. Like, if you're going to get hurt real bad, protect your eyes, maybe your tongue, too, because, like...
Maybe have your stand powered by a road rage instead of physical pain.
Yeah. Like, power up your stand with playing MMOs. League of Legends is really good for getting people mad, I've heard.
Yeah, what if you just get owned while playing Tekken or something? There was already a couple fighting games out by the point Stardust Crusaders.
Don Corleone hires Soul Sacrifice to go enter a Dota tournament.
I need you to take out the competition. At best, his stand could have only taken up Polnareff, who at this point in the timeline was the least committed of the 5 to hunting down Dio.
Yeah.
He could never have fought Kakyoin. Kakyoin would never strike first. He's too nice.
Yeah.
And when he does strike, it would be an instant kill, because that's how he rolls. He lays a trap, and then once you step into it, he destroys you. That's how his stand fights go. It's great.
I mean, that is how so many of these stand fights go.
Yeah.
That's how Avdol beats Polnareff. That's how...
It's the DNA of Joseph in Part 2.
Yeah, it's the standard MO for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that's another way Jotaro is different. He actually just punches through the pain.
Yeah.
Part of this is because Kakyoin is the rogue of the party.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is actually a thing, too. Araki based their party composition on Dungeons & Dragons stuff. The party of 4 was the fighter Jotaro, the rogue was Kakyoin, the wizard is Avdol, and the priest is Joseph.
And then Polnareff is the DM's girlfriend. She gets a paladin,
yeah. The end of the Empress gave a teaser for the next stand fight. Do you have any thoughts on what the next stand fight will be, Grant?
Okay, so if so many of these stand fights are based on classic horror monsters, I guess the next one is Christine, Stephen King's Killer Car movie?
Maximum Overdrive.
I hope you have fun with next episode's road trip.
I do love a fight that takes advantage of a change in geography or a change in setting.
Yes.
Like, I like the strength fight. Like, we've been very clear that the strength episode has a giant glowing weak point that could have been easily fixed.
Actually, I don't think we actually talked about that on the episode because we talked about it right before and then didn't bring it up again.
Everybody knows what we're talking about.
Everyone
they
knows
heard us
the
talk
part,
about it weeks
though.
ago.
I'm sure it happened in your episode where you talked about the 12-year-old bathing scene.
But the actual part of fighting strength,
the actual fight,
and the character of the orangutan, incredible. But
the
specifically,
power is also very cool, very clever.
Fighting the place you are in is so cool, is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
An action scene on the streets, man. Fast and the Furious 9 is coming out, baby. I am hyped. I am ready.
Oh yeah, how about that traditional Western showdown with Polnareff and Whole Horse? We haven't even talked about Whole Horse in this episode.
Oh, okay. We got to talk about Whole Horse.
He's the whole horse.
100% of
Not even half a horse.
A Whole Horse is very fun. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's a great character and also different from everyone else that they fought in that he got away.
Yeah.
He's the only one who got away. Everyone else got the shit beat out of him.
He gets away. His stand is a fucking gun.
It's so cool. Like, the way stands are, just being a gun seems underpowered.
That said, it's fantastic against non-stand users. He is the best assassin in the entire squad of assassins.
Yeah.
I love the way Whole Horse's character is sort of built around knowing that, like, yeah, in a stand fight, I'm a little outmatched, but man, I'm the world's best stand sidekick.
Yeah. He knows he can't win in a stand fight because his power is so mundane compared to the bullshit stands can do. But it also kills you if it hits you.
but like we said last week, if you were starting a JoJo inspired or just a general shonen show, which there's an argument to be made that all of them are JoJo inspired at this point, decades later.
Yeah.
Everybody's power was they could summon a different ghost gun from nowhere. That would be a killer show.
That would be really... I mean, Bleach does that with swords. Mm-hmm. But you're right.
And
Someone
it's
should
rad.
do that with guns, because it was the coolest part of Bleach.
So I still read/watch My Hero Academia. I'm not as crazy about it as I was at the start, but like that is also another thing where it's like, yeah, everyone's basically got, unique powers, but in like a superhero format. But damn, I just wish it went a little bit farther to reach like...
How stands do it?
Yeah, like how stands do it, because it's still just a little bit too much like this person punches differently.
Yeah.
You got a couple people that have more unique powers, like Mirio, who he can just fall through stuff. He can go through matter, but...
His power is clipping. It's so funny. His power is no clip, but when he clips through stuff, he can't see or feel anything. All of his senses are gone, so it's... Because light and sound clip through him, too. It's so clever.
So he has to train himself to basically be completely blind and deaf and everything. It's the best power in My Hero Academia, and it feels the most stand-inspired. His power is, like, he no-clips through stuff, but then he turns no-clip off, and so then he gets violently pushed out through the thing he's in, so he just slingshots himself at people really hard.
Yes.
Like, that is the closest thing to, like, a stand power in that thing.
And then, he can turn no-clip back on while he's traveling at somebody to go through them and then punch them from behind them.
Yeah.
That's at the most stand power in My Hero Academia. I think it's Gentle Criminal.
Oh, no, you're right.
It was the power to make things bouncy.
Right, yeah.
Which is such a stand power.
That's right.
He touches a thing and it becomes bouncy. And then he uses that to do some crazy bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's such a good fight.
That one is pretty good, actually.
Speaking of Whole Horse, Vel, what is your opinion of my theory that Whole Horse is meant to be a foil to the entire crew? That his personality is built off of plucking like one personality trait each from all 5 of our Stardust Crusaders?
I had mainly heard before that he's a foil for Polnareff, but I see it.
Right?
I really, really see it.
Right?
He does work pretty well as a foil to basically any of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's honestly a great villain and probably the best character of all the villains in part 3 until we get to Dio.
To this point, with my 1/4 of the way knowledge, absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do like Rubber Soul, though.
Yeah, I like Rubber Soul a lot, too. It's mainly just because the instant he gets owned, he just goes and like, oh, gee, you would hit the birthday boy. Like, we brought that up when we talked about it. Oh, gee, I got glasses. You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses. Please don't hurt me.
My favorite part is that this isn't the last time someone will say basically this exact thing to Jotaro.
Yeah.
Like, there's another stand fight later that is also someone begging for their life in the pretty much exact same way. It's so good.
And it's still very satisfying.
It's honestly more satisfying the second time.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
So, I don't know, Sea Captain Monkey is such a good character, too. There are 3 really great stand users in this first part.
If he weren't a pervert, strength would be great.
We don't know that he didn't want to just kill her. We don't know that.
Yeah.
I also really like Jotaro's cigarette trick with Captain Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
That was so stupid, but it's so funny, and it works, and it's great, and I love it. And it's like the first time that Jotaro's like shows that he's a trickster, too.
Yeah.
He can be sneaky. Most of his being sneaky comes from the fact that he never fucking says anything, though. It's just that he's quiet and doesn't tell you what he's thinking.
So Jotaro has an extremely good poker face, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he will say the dumbest shit, but he can say it with such a cool, serious attitude that everyone buys into whatever he's doing.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about how gross it'd be if you pissed yourself. Since we're in the pool together. Fucking Jotaro.
Jotaro claiming the Joestar legacy when he's about to just like
run away?
Drop into the ocean.
The Joestar family secret plan with coming back is so good. It's so good. That made me smile so much on the rewatch.
Because like not only is it just a fun moment of like, I guess sort of foreshadowing how much fun the Empress fight is going to be, but it's tied up in his emotional journey from like this dude who feels abandoned by his family, doesn't give a fucking shit about anything that Joseph has to say or do, and is like, that's my grandpa right there. You put respect on his name.
Yeah, it's like, it's the first moment where he really acknowledges that he's part of the lineage. Mm-hmm. Instead of sort of just kind of trudging along with his destiny, he's actually sort of embracing it a little bit. Which is definitely a theme that will come back, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm.
We talked about it for the Empress fight, but, you know, having one more fight with Joseph doing his young Joseph shtick, and really any of the small things you get throughout all of Part 3 where something parallels something that happened to Joseph when he was younger in Part 2, and he goes like, oh shit, not this again. Like, you know, oh fuck, this is my 3rd plane crash.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of someone who survived 3 plane crashes?
Yeah, like Part 3 isn't crazy self-referential to 1 and 2, but when it does it, it always feels really satisfying. Like Part 1 and 2 feel like history now, you know? It wasn't just like, oh, that was last season. Like, Joseph is old now.
That wasn't last season. That was 50 years ago.
Yeah, you really feel like the time has actually passed, and it's just like, oh man, yeah, that stuff with cars, that was forever ago. Good times.
Like when he tries to use the ripple on the Empress, and he says, oh, I haven't had to do this in a while, and then he does the breathing technique. It's nostalgic now.
Yeah, when he uses an overdrive on the flesh bud to dissolve
break it, which I'm pretty sure is an anime edition too.
Yeah.
Because I think in the manga, Jotaro just throws it out the door and it just gets killed by the sun. But the overdrive karate chop is way better.
Yeah, that's way more satisfying. It's even like satisfying, nostalgic just to hear like the Hamon like sound come back again.
Whoosh,
yeah, the shiny shing noise.
So how about that ending song? Did you expect "Walk Like an Egyptian," Grant?
I mean, I guess it's a natural choice. One of them is Egyptian. It's every way that Avdol has ever walked is like an Egyptian.
I both love it and hate it. It's such an on-the-nose and stupid song choice, but it's really funny.
Yeah. If you were told that is what the song is, it sounds like a joke, and it kind of is. But it's still a really fitting song.
Yeah.
It's
musically good.
Something I also remember is how the opening for Stand Proud, the opening theme, Stand Proud, The animation for it isn't nearly as good as my memory told me it was.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it's fine. I remember it being, like, my favorite at the time, but it just kind of doesn't hold up to all the shit that came after, or even the 2 that came before.
Yeah, like, animation-wise, yeah, it really gets carried by the actual song, I think.
Yes, the song is still very good and holds up, but I feel like the animation just... Bloody Stream just blows it out of the water with style, and the comic book look of of Sonochino Sadame, the very first opening, it hits me good. Yeah. It feels good to look at.
Yeah, but when they get to, like, the bridge, and there's the pan of all 5 of them sending out their stands...
Oh yeah, it's still good, but, like...
That's fucking cool.
Very minor spoilers. There's a second Stardust Crusaders OP, and it is so much better.
Yeah, that one's really cool, too.
Yeah, when you get to the back half of the show, the OP changes, and I really, really prefer the second one. I keep stealing the show. Stealing the spotlight.
That's what guests are for.
Yeah.
That's why we only have them on every 5 episodes or so. So, Vel, thanks again for coming on. Is there anything you would like to tell the listeners about places they can find you, or things you make, or just want to point them out regardless of whether you're involved or not?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Vela Ministriari. I don't blame you if you can't spell it. I go by Velmini on there too. I think Twitter lets you just search a person's name. I haven't changed it in like a year. I write tabletop games like Fellowship and Final Bid, which is Grant's favorite, other than the one that he wrote.
Final Bid is my favorite game ever. Yes.
So much so that that he wrote Last Shooting based on it, and then I published that for him.
Chip, thanks for letting me bring my boss on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Totally.
I don't think that counts. I helped you publish one thing once.
It's okay, I hired you right back as contract for editing it, so there you go.
Yeah, that's true. I stream sometimes, but not really. I am mostly working on finishing up Book 4 of Fellowship, which will be the last book of Fellowship, and then I'll be working on Skull Diggers. Please go watch 6 Feats Under. It's a great show, even though we aren't updating it very well, because I'm bad at it. I guess go check out Chip and Grant's Final Fantasy VII LP, but if you're here and not watching that, what's wrong with you? It's good.
We're getting closer to the end now. It's
Oh man, I should probably catch up before you get there then.
I mean, by the time people are hearing this, they might have already seen the end. I'm not sure how that's going to
I'm not sure how this is going to time out, but yeah, we're getting closer to the end right now, at least recording-wise, and that means also by the time that stuff's out, we will be recording the DLC that will just be coming out, so it's all timing out great. Totally on purpose.
Happy coincidences. All right, well, thanks for having me. I always love to talk about JoJo.
That's been clear.
Yes, yeah. Please enjoy the rest of Part 3. Please look forward to Part 4 and 5.
And eventually Part 6, because that got announced.
Yeah, that got announced. I'm so excited.
Me too.
There isn't a date yet, unfortunately, but, it'll be here when it's here.
I'm going to guess in the fall, maybe.
Maybe 2022, who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
So with that, thank you again for everyone joining us. We will be back next time with some more actual JoJo episodes to talk about, including, I guess Pat Sajak is going to be joining us. Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, you're on the Wheel of Fortune.
Ooh.
I can say confidently I would not enjoy spending time with Pat Sajak.
I'd agree.
Yeah. So with that, I do encourage everybody to go ahead and boost us algorithmically in all those fun ways. If you're with us on YouTube, give us a comment. If you're with us on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast app, please leave a rating and review there. And more powerful than even the mighty servers that control our rankings and recommendations and such, just talk to people. People. Those other people. You've heard of people. Tell them about the show and send them a link. And hopefully they'll also enjoy listening to us talk about these big, beefy boys and their punch ghosts.
I like all these Part 5 boys. They're a good gang. Good night, folks.
See you later.
To be continued.